Friends, welcome to Prashant IAS. So friends, in the last class, we were discussing about the elections of the President of India. And from this class, we will continue our discussion further. So friends, in the last class, I told you that the elected members of State Legislative Assembly give vote in the elections of the President. Okay, so the elected members of the State Legislative Assembly give their votes in the elections of the President. Now there is a very basic question that what if President's rule is imposed on an assembly? Okay, so if President's rule is imposed on an assembly, then what will happen? Okay, now friends, now there can be two situations. So if President's rule is imposed on an State Legislative Assembly on an state, then two conditions may happen. So the first condition is that the assembly is suspended. Okay, the State Legislative Assembly is suspended. And the second condition can be that the State Legislative Assembly is dissolved. Now what is the difference between two? What is the difference between suspension of the assembly and that the assembly is dissolved? So I will give you one example so that you can understand it very clearly. Suppose friends, there is a glass and that glass is filled with water. So now you can imagine that that glass is actually the State Legislative Assembly. You can compare the glass with State Legislative Assembly. And the water inside the glass are the members of State Legislative Assembly. Means the glass is Legislative Assembly and the water inside the glass are the MLAs of the assembly. They are the members of Legislative Assembly. Simple. Now friends, suppose if you have put that glass in the freezer and the entire water of that glass has freezed. Okay, so now if water is freezed, means water is converted into ice. So now water molecules cannot move from one place to another. Okay, water molecules cannot move. They cannot do their work. Okay, means they are there in the glass. Water is there in the glass, but water is freezed. Water is in freezed state. Water cannot move. So the same is the condition when the assembly is suspended. So suspended assembly means the members are there in the State Legislative Assembly. Okay, so members are present in the State Legislative Assembly, but these members are actually freezed. Means these members are not allowed to do their work. They are suspended. They cannot do any work. Okay, they cannot do anything, but they are there in the assembly. Okay, means they are suspended. They are freezed. So they are not allowed to do any work at all. But they are there in the glass. They are there in the house. Okay. Now what is a dissolved? Okay, now what is dissolved State Legislative Assembly? So friends, now suppose if you pour the water out of the glass, okay, if you throw entire water out of the glass, so you can say that now the glass is dissolved. Means the glass is vacated. Now there is no more water inside the glass. The glass is vacant. The glass is empty. So the same is the situation. Means when the State Legislative Assembly is dissolved, then what happens? That all the MLAs of the State Legislative Assembly are thrown out of the house. Okay, they are thrown out of the assembly. So it means that now these members are no more the MLAs. Now these members are no more the MLAs. And now the State Legislative Assembly is vacant. State Legislative Assembly is empty. There are no members inside the State Legislative Assembly. So this is the difference between suspension and the dissolved State Legislative Assembly. Now the question arises that what happens in both of these situations. So friends, if the State Legislative Assembly is suspended, then the members are allowed to cast their votes. Why? Because now also the members are there in the assembly. Now also they are MLAs. Okay, even though they are freezed, even though they are suspended, but now also they are MLAs. So in the case of suspension, when the State Legislative Assembly is suspended, then also the elected members of State Legislative Assembly can cast their vote in the elections of the president. But friends, when the assembly is dissolved, so assembly is dissolved means assembly is empty. There are no members inside the assembly. So if there is no one inside the assembly, then who will vote? No one will vote. So when the assembly is dissolved, then the assembly is not allowed to cast vote in the elections of the president. Why? Because actually assembly is empty. There are no members inside the assembly. So when the assembly is dissolved, so in that case, assembly is not allowed to cast their vote in the election of the president. Okay. Now friends, the second question arises that who is returning officer? Who is returning officer in the election of the president? So now you will ask that, sir, first of all tell us who is returning officer. What is the meaning of returning officer? So friends, returning officer is the officer who is in charge to conduct the election. Okay, who is the in charge of conducting the election in a constituency. So returning officer is the in charge officer of conducting election in any constituency. Now what does it mean? So suppose friends, in Lok Sabha elections, the returning officer of a constituency is DM of a district. Okay, and in state legislative assembly elections, SDM is the returning officer of an constituency. Okay, so in Lok Sabha election, who is returning officer? DM is returning officer. And in state legislative assembly elections, who is returning officer? SDM is returning officer. So what happens in Lok Sabha election? DM is the in charge officer of conducting entire election in his constituency. Similarly, in legislative assembly elections, SDM is the in charge officer of conducting elections in their constituent assembly. In their constituency. Okay, in their constituency. Okay, if I have said constituent assembly, I am sorry for that. Okay, I want to say constituency. Okay, constituent assembly is not a right word. Right word is constituency. Okay, so district magistrate is the in charge officer of conducting Lok Sabha election in his constituency. Similarly, SDM is the in charge officer of conducting state legislative assembly election in his constituency. Okay, now what does it mean? So suppose friends, what happens in Lok Sabha election, that the candidates who are contesting the elections, candidate who wish to contest the election, they submit their nomination papers to district magistrate. Similarly, in state legislative assembly elections, the candidates who want to contest the elections, they submit their nomination paper to SDM. Means one of the very basic work of the returning officer is to collect the nomination papers from the candidate. So if any candidate want to contest the election, then first of all he has to submit his nomination paper to the returning officer. Okay, so if we have to summarize, then we can say that who is a returning officer? So returning officer is the in charge officer of conducting the election in any given constituency. For example, we can say that candidates submit their nomination paper to their respective returning officer. Now friends, I hope that you all must be clear with the definition of returning officer. So now the question arises that who is the returning officer in the election of president? So as here you can see on the screen, Secretary General Lok Sabha and Secretary General Rajya Sabha are the returning officer in the election of president as well as vice president. Okay, so Secretary General Lok Sabha and Secretary General Rajya Sabha becomes the returning officer in the elections of president as well as vice president. Now friends, turn by turn they both becomes the returning officer. Okay, so they becomes returning officer alternately. For example, in a given election, if Secretary General Lok Sabha is returning officer for the election of president, then in the next election, Secretary General Lok Sabha will not become the returning officer. Secretary General Rajya Sabha will become the returning officer. Similarly, to the next year, then again Secretary General Lok Sabha will become the returning officer, and after that, in the next elections, Secretary General Rajya Sabha will become the returning officer. So Secretary General Lok Sabha and Secretary General Rajya Sabha are the returning officer in the elections of president and vice president, and turn by turn means alternately they both become the returning officer in the elections of president and vice president. Now friends, then the question arises about nomination paper. Okay, so now we will discuss about the nomination paper of the president. So friends, first of all, the nomination paper of the president must be proposed by minimum 50 voters. Okay, means when president actually submits, means when the candidate who wants to become the president, when he submits his nomination paper to the returning officer, so his nomination paper must be actually proposed by minimum 50 voters. Okay, so voters means the people who are authorized to give vote in the election of the president. Okay, so the nomination paper of the president must be proposed by at least 50 voters, and after that his nomination paper must be seconded by another 50 voters. Seconded by means its nomination paper should be supported by another 50 voters. Now here another 50 voters means these 50 voters should be different from those 50 voters who have actually proposed the nomination paper of the candidate. Okay, so for submitting the nomination paper must be proposed by minimum 50 voters, and after that it should be supported by another 50 voters. After that friends, what is the security deposit for the election of the president? So if a person want to contest the election of the president, then the security deposit is 15,000 rupees. He has to deposit a security of 15,000 rupees. After that, we will discuss about the dispute. Means if there is any dispute regarding the election of the president, if any party or any contestant is not satisfied by the results of the election, okay, so if there is any dispute regarding the elections of the president, then only Supreme Court has the jurisdiction, Supreme Court has the authority to hear that dispute. Okay, so only Supreme Court has the authority to hear that dispute. And friends, the decision of the Supreme Court is binding in this regard. Means if Supreme Court is hearing the case regarding the elections of the president and Supreme Court has passed the decision, then the decision of the Supreme Court is binding on all the candidates, is binding. Okay, nobody can go beyond the decision, and nobody can do anything if once the decision is passed by the Supreme Court. Okay, so we can say that the decision of Supreme Court is binding in regard of the dispute in the election of the president. Okay, now friends, suppose that if there is a dispute regarding the election of the president and Supreme Court has heard that case, and after hearing the case, Supreme Court has given the decision that the elections are invalid. Okay, means there was some kind of cheating in the election, or Supreme Court can't give any ground. Okay, so finally Supreme Court has declared that the elections are invalid. So definitely the person who is holding the office of president, means the person who has won, now he has to leave his office. Okay, why? Because the elections are declared invalid. But friends, definitely when the case is going on, means after becoming the president, many decisions, after becoming the president, that person must have taken many decisions. Okay, and definitely government of India has must also have taken many decisions in the name of that person. Okay, why? Because he is the president, and all the decisions of the union government are taken in the name of the president. Okay, so when that person was serving as the president, so during his time, actually he has taken many decisions, and government has taken many decisions in the name of president. Now friends, even if the elections are declared invalid, even if now that person has to leave his post, but the decisions taken by that person or the decisions taken in his name by the government will not be declared invalid only on this ground. Okay, so even if the elections of the president is declared invalid by the court, even the person has to leave his post, then also the decisions taken by that person or the decision taken in the name of that person will not be declared invalid. Okay, so let's move further. So friends, then comes Article 58. So Article 58 talks about the qualification to become the president. Means if any person want to become the president of India, if any person want to contest the election to be the president of India, then what minimum qualification that person should have. Okay, so the first qualification is that person should be the citizen of India. Okay, means any foreigner cannot become the president of India. Any person who is not the citizen of India, he cannot become the president of India. So if you want to become the president of India, then you should be the citizen of India. So only a citizen of India can be a president of India. After that, the minimum age for becoming the president is 35 years. Means if a person want to contest the election for the president of India, then he must have completed the age of 35 years. Means his minimum age should be 35 years. And if he is below 35 years, then he is not authorized to contest the election. After that, friends, that person must be qualified to be a member of Lok Sabha. Means he should have the qualification to become the member of Lok Sabha. Now, what is the qualification to become the member of Lok Sabha? Now that we will discuss when we will discuss about the Lok Sabha and the Lok Sabha elections. So for the time being, you just understand that if a person wants to become the president of India, then he should be qualified to become a member of Lok Sabha. After that, the person must not be holding an office of profit. Okay, means that person who wants to contest the election of president, he must not be holding an office of profit. Now, what is office of profit? So, suppose friends, if a person is holding an post, okay, if a person is holding an post and his appointment is done by the government, okay, his appointment is done by the government and his removal can also be done by the government. Okay, means government has appointed him and government has the power to remove him. And after that, that person is receiving salary for his work. That person is receiving money for his work. Then that post will be called as office of profit. Okay, so if a person wants to become the president of India, then he must not be holding any office of profit. After that, friends, these offices, okay, so these offices written here in green color are not included as the office of profit for the election of president. Means if a person is already a president of India, vice president of India, any minister in union government or state government, then these offices are not considered as the office of profit for the election of president. Means these persons can also contest in the election of the president. Then friends, Parliament by law can declare some offices as not the office of profit. Means Parliament has the power, Parliament has the authority to pass a law, and by that law Parliament can declare that now these offices are not the office of profit for the sake of the election of the president. Okay, so Parliament can make a law, and by making a law, Parliament can declare some offices as these offices are not the office of profit. Now friends, then comes Article 59. So Article 59 says that if the winning candidate is a legislator of either house of the parliament or state legislature, he shall be deemed to have vacated his seat before entering the office of president. Now what does it mean? So suppose friends, if there is a person and this person has elected as the president of India. Okay. Now suppose when he was not the president, means when he was contesting for president, he was the legislator of either house of the parliament. Means either he was the member of Lok Sabha or he was the member of Rajya Sabha, or he was the member of any state legislative assembly. Okay, so in short we can say that the person who is elected as the president of India, either he is a member of parliament or he is a member of legislative assembly, either he is a MP or he is a MLA. Now friends, that person that person has to leave his seat in the parliament or the state legislative assembly before entering into the office of president. Means he has to resign from the post of member of parliament or the post of member of legislative assembly before entering into the office of president. Okay, so this is the meaning of article 59. Then comes the oath of the president. So friends, under article 60, Chief Justice of India conducts the oath on the President. Now, what does it mean? So, first of all, it means that the oath of the President is given under Article 60 of the Indian Constitution. Okay. After that, it says that President of India takes his oath in the presence of Chief Justice of India. Means Chief Justice actually conducts the oath on the President. Means President takes oath in the presence of Chief Justice of India. Okay. Then friends, suppose if Chief Justice of India is not present, okay, means reason can be any. Suppose if Chief Justice of India is not present on that day, then senior most judge of Supreme Court, okay, then who will conduct the oath? Then senior most judge of Supreme Court will conduct the oath on the President in the absence of CJI. Okay. Now friends, the oath of the president is given in the schedule 3 of the Indian Constitution, and definitely we all know that all the oaths are given in schedule 3. Now let's have a look on the oath of the president, that what this oath looks like. So the oath reads like I, and here in the name section you have to fill your name. Okay, so I do swear in the name of God that I will faithfully execute the office of President of India and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law, and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of India. So this is the pledge which any person has to take before entering into the office of the president. Okay, so President of India has to take this oath after he has been elected as the president and before entering into his office. Now what is the meaning of this oath? So we will try to understand this. Okay. Now friends, I have underlined the keywords in the red color. Okay. So friends, first of all, it says that I do swear in the name of God that I will faithfully execute the office of president. So first of all, it says that I do swear in the name of God that I will faithfully execute the office of president. So keyword is faithfully execute the office of president. Now what does it mean? So it means that actually that person is taking pledge in the name of God. That person is taking pledge that I will perform all my duties correctly, efficiently and honesty. Okay. So I will perform all my duties as the President of India correctly. Then it reads that and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law. So now here the keyword is preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and law. Now what does it mean? It means that the person is taking the pledge that he will do everything to protect the Constitution of India. He will put his best efforts. He will put his best efforts to ensure the non-violation of the Constitution, to ensure that neither citizens nor government violates the Constitution, to ensure that the country runs according to the provisions of the Constitution and according to law. After that, it says that I will devote myself to the service and the well-being of the people of India. So here definitely the keyword is the service and the well-being of the people of India. So definitely here person is taking pledge that he will devote all his time during his tenure in the service of the people for the welfare of the people of India. Okay, so this is the pledge of the President of India. Now let's move further. So then comes the tenure. Okay. Now friends, according to article 56, okay, so now question comes that what is the term of the President of India? Okay. So according to article 56, the term of the President of India is 5 years. Now what is the meaning of term? What is the meaning of the term of office? So term of office means for how much time the person will remain in his office. For how much time the person will hold that office. Okay. So the President of India according to article 56 holds his office for a period of 5 years. And these 5 years are counted from the date he enters the office. Okay, so these 5 years are counted from the date he enters the office. Now friends, then the question arises that whether a person can be re-elected as the president or not. Means if a person is already a president of India, then can he be re-elected as the president of India? So according to Article 57, a person can be re-elected n number of times. Means a person can become the president of India again and again. There are no limitations. So according to Constitution, a person can be elected as a president for many times. Then friends, Election Commission of India holds the election for the president before 5 years are over, but new president joins after 5 years. Now what does it mean? So it means that it is the duty of the Election Commission to hold the elections for the new president during the tenure of the serving president. Okay, so it is the duty of the Election Commission of India to hold the election for new president during the tenure of the current president. Okay, and definitely we know that according to Article 56, the current president will serve for 5 years. So it is the duty of the Election Commission to hold the election for the new president before the expiry of the 5-year periods, before the 5 years period. Okay, so now suppose if the Election Commission has hold the election and the new president is elected, but then also the new president will not go to office until the 5 years of the previous president are over. So once the 5-year period of the previous president are over, then he will leave the office and then new president will join the office. Okay, now friends, if due to some reasons Election Commission fails to conduct the election for the new president before 5-year period, okay, or till the date, till this 5-year period, okay, then the old president, then the previous president will continue to work as the president of India until the new president is elected by the Election Commission of India. Okay, so if due to some reasons Election Commission fails to conduct the election for the fresh president, then the old president will continue to work in the office. Then friends, let us discuss about the vacancy in the office of president. Okay, now vacancy can be due to 3 reasons. The first reason is resignation, second reason is impeachment, and the third reason is the death. Now what is the meaning of vacancy? So vacancy means when the post of the president is vacant, when no person is actually holding the post of the president. Okay, so I have told you, so I have given you the example of glass. So suppose if now the glass is the office of president and butter inside the glass is the person holding the office of president. So if you will pour the butter of the glass outside the glass, okay, means now there is no water inside the glass. Now glass is vacant, means no person is actually holding the office of president. The office of president is vacant. Now how vacancy can be created? So the first thing is resignation, means the person who is president, now he doesn't want to continue as the president of India, means now he doesn't want to give his services. So definitely he will resign from the post and post will be vacated. Then friends, impeachment. Impeachment means if the president of India has violated the constitution, then on this ground parliament can remove the president. So the removal of president is known as impeachment. So definitely if impeachment is if there is impeachment on the president, then definitely president will be removed from his post and now post will be vacated. And the third reason is death. So definitely we know that death is an act of God, and definitely nobody has control over his death. Death can come anytime. So if president is died, then also office will be vacated. Now friends, it is the duty of the Election Commission to conduct the elections for the new president within the 6 months from the date of vacancy. Okay, so if the office of president is vacated due to any reason, due to resignation, impeachment or death, then it is the duty of the Election Commission of India to conduct fresh elections, to conduct new elections within 6 months for the date from the date of vacancy. Then friends, When there is a vacancy or absence in the office of president, then vice president acts as president by taking an oath conducted by CGI. Now, first of all, you all have to understand that what is the difference between vacancy and absence. So vacancy, I already explained you. Vacancy means when there is no person holding that post. Okay, when the post of the President of India is empty, no person is actually holding that post. But absence is something different. So absence means when there is a person on that post. Okay, means the post is not vacant when there is a person holding that post, but that person is not available due to some reasons. Okay, that person is not available to perform his work, to perform his duties due to some reasons. For example, suppose if the President of India is ill, okay, and he is ill, and his condition is not good, that he cannot do his duty, he cannot do his work, then in this case it is said that he is absent from his office. So though the person is on that office, the person is holding that office is not vacant, then also the person is absent from the office. Why? Because the person is ill, the person cannot perform his duties. Okay, and second example, we can think that suppose if the President of India wants to go on holiday with his family, okay, so then also when he will go on holiday, there will be no one to do the duties of the President of India. So in that case also we will say that the president is absent from the office. So absence means when the person is holding the office but he is not available to perform his work. Now friends, if there is any vacancy or absence in the office of president, so in short we can say that if president is not available, if the person who is holding the office of president, he is not available to perform his duty, to perform his work, then in that case vice president will act as the President of India. Then means who will perform the duties of president, who will perform the work of president. So the vice president of India will perform the works and duties of the president. He will act as the President of India. But friends, before entering into the office of president, vice president has to take the oath conducted by the Chief Justice of India. Okay, and he has to take the oath which president has taken to enter into the office. Okay, so just now I have told you the oath of the president. So vice president has to take that oath. Then friends, maximum time for which vice president can act as president is 6 months. Okay, but in the case of absence, it can be more than 6 months also. Now what does it mean? It means that if the office of the president is vacant, means it is vacant due to resignation, death or impeachment, then it is the duty of the election commission to conduct the fresh elections within 6 months from the date of vacancy. Okay, means vice president cannot hold the office of president for a period of more than 6 months in the case of vacancy. So if there is any vacancy in the office of president, then the maximum time for which vice president can act as president is 6 months. But suppose friends, the President of India is that President of India is very ill, okay, and he is suffering from a very serious disease, okay, and doctor has said that you have to take bed rest for suppose 8 months. Okay, now definitely vice president has to act as president for 8 months. Why? Because president is very ill, okay, and he cannot do his work for next 8 months. Doctor has suggested bed rest for next 8 months. Means in the case of absence, okay, in the case of absence, vice president can act as president for more than 6 months also. Now friends, what if the vice president is also absent or vice president is also vacant? Okay, means there is a vacancy on the post of vice president or vice president is also not available to perform his duty. So in that case, if vice president is not there, then Chief Justice of India would act as the President of India. Okay, so in this case, Chief Justice of India would act as the President of India. So friends, that's all for today. So I hope that you all must have enjoyed the lecture. Okay, and I have mentioned the link of notes in the description of video, so you can download the notes from there, and you can also download the notes directly from my blog. Okay, and you can also follow me on Instagram. My ID is Prashant IAS7. So friends, I hope that you all have enjoyed the lecture, and if you have enjoyed the lecture, then please like the video, comment, subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon and press all button. Okay, so that you can receive all the notifications of the class. Okay, so please do press the bell icon and then press the all button. Okay. So friends, till then, take care of yourself. Thank you.